welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim. I'm joined by Donald.
Hello.
How are you?
I am still reeling, even a week after the fact, from all the shenanigans that took place at the Electronic Entertainment Expo.
Yes, we're all very, very tired.
Yes.
Because a lot of the press conferences started at like 2 a.m.
Yep. From 2:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning until 1 p.m. that same day was essentially wall-to-wall press conference, wall-to-wall hype.
Yes, wall-to-wall announcements as well.
Yeah.
There were so many games announced. I think everyone that was watching got something they wanted out of E3.
Oh yeah, like if you want what's got some deep RPGs, you got Fallout 4. If you're feeling nostalgic, there's Final Fantasy VII Remake, or Shenmue, or The Last Guardian,
Yep.
or Xbox 360 backwards compatibility.
Yep.
Or if you want just adorable little woolly things, you had Yoshi's Wooden World.
Yes.
I think we've hit a soft spot for you,
Yes,
Tim.
I
A soft,
love Yoshi.
squishy spot.
And it's the Sackboy toy that I always wanted.
Yeah.
However, it's an amiibo. I don't want an amiibo. I just want a big Yoshi plush toy. That's
You just
all I
want a huggable sized woolen Yoshi, don't
Yes,
you?
yes, I do. That
I
would
think
be the
you,
best.
me, and everyone else in mankind.
Yes.
So
and
adorable.
the press conferences
Yeah.
themselves, everyone was very strong this year, except for maybe EA.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Pele, then EA, or Hoop God,
Yes.
then EA would have been your show of E3. But other than that, everyone else did bring their A game. Like Microsoft had a consistent show. Ubisoft, it was the same thing with every year. Aisha Tyler remains value. And then there was Sony that was just bombshell
Yes.
after bombshell after bombshell.
Yes, I think everyone would agree that a lot of the Sony announcements were very good. And Nintendo had a great showing with their Direct. They always pre-film that sort of stuff.
And the puppets too, yeah.
Yeah,
You can't
and
forget the puppets.
the team up with the Skylanders and
Yeah.
Amiibos, having Nintendo characters in Skylanders that act as both Skylanders toys and Amiibos is pretty good.
I have already set aside a fifth mortgage for all of that. So we'll be covering a lot of E3's content later in the show, but we also have some other reviews, don't we, Tim?
Yes, we had a look at, you had a look at Schrodinger's cat.
Yes, and we also have a review of the Jackbox Party Pack, which has finally hit Australia with all its deceptive glory.
Yes, but let's go straight into our first review.
Sweet! Nice!
Jason, imagine with me for a second, I've got a box, right? Mm-hmm. I put in a cat.
Right.
I put in some uranium. I close the box. What is in the box?
Hopefully a good Fallout game.
No, not this time. This time we get the video game from Team 17, Schrodinger's cat, and the Raiders of the Lost Qua.
Oh, that's a memey, juicy, dank pun right there.
Oh god, I almost choked
yeah,
saying
yeah.
that title. It is. We'll get to that in a second. But what is Raiders of the Lost Qua?
So Raiders of the Lost Quark, you play as Schrodinger's cat.
Yes.
And you collect these different quarks, and they all have different properties. There's 4 of them. And you combine any 3 of them to create a specific result. So if you put 3 of the same, you get 1. If you put 2 and 1 of another, you get a different result.
So you get various abilities such as flying, such as bouncing, such as traps, such as a protective bubble that you can roll in.
Correct. And so it's all little things like that actually make up some pretty fun gameplay. The level design isn't great at times, but I still think the actual core mechanics themselves are pretty solid. The concept is solid. The issue is I have to get through such absolute dank memery that I just can't handle it.
The writing does essentially copy and paste the entire playbook of the Big Bang Theory. You
Yeah,
can
and this
see the
doesn't have a laugh
Bazinga
track.
inspirations.
Yeah.
From the occasional dialogue to the voice acting of the cat, which does not sound like a cat at all.
No.
It just sounds like it doesn't. The sound design in this game and the writing does not live up to
It's
what
like
it wants
Neil
to be.
deGrasse Tyson. I fucking love science, and Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory had a love child, and then put Earthworm Jim visuals on it.
And the Earthworm Jim visuals are good, but are you willing to put up with the dank memes? Are you willing to put up with the Bazinga, with all the Bazinga, for some decent Pikmin-esque action?
That is the question you're going to need to ask yourself.
Why are these cars going so fast? It's like 80. Stupid things in Schrodinger. Lock!
Oh god, I went in the f***ing wrong way. That's alright, I can just go straight back up. No logs! Oh my god, no!
Is everything alright in there? You fucked up, haven't you? Oh, you went a bit too hard, didn't you? What did I miss?
Well, Tim, E3 2015 was, in the scale of recent years, absolutely huge. Just absolutely huge.
It certainly was. I think everyone got a little of what they wanted.
Which is exactly why we thought we'd bring in as many people as we could muster from the crew to see what they thought about E3 and what games were shown there.
Yep, so let's see what the crew thought.
Well, this E3 just gone has been one of the most exciting I've experienced in years. It's not about the consoles this time, it's about the games.
This year's E3 was certainly one of the biggest in recent times, not just in terms of the number of announcements, but the sheer scale of them. There's so many bombs dropped during the press conferences.
I gotta say, when it comes to E3 2015, I came out pleasantly surprised.
So the coolest thing for me from E3 2015, if we're not talking about objectively the best thing that was shown, which was the reveal of a new Nier game developed by Platinum Games. Thank you, Lord, there is a God in heaven. It's the best thing ever.
It's hard to pick out individual games.
I was blown away with the amount of announcements and amount of gameplay that was actually shown. Who would have thought gameplay at E3 and not just CG trailers?
So I won't. One of my highlights was the hundreds and hundreds of Xbox 360 games that are now suddenly available on Xbox One through backwards compatibility in what has to be a complete reversal from the original mission statement of the Xbox One, almost burning its past.
Mario & Luigi Paper Jam for the 3DS, and you may be thinking why, but here's the thing. I love the Mario & Luigi RPG series. I kinda like Paper Mario, even if there's like 2 good games in that series, and I also like really weird crossover stuff. So bringing the two together, creating a somewhat decent RPG out of it, that screams like, hey, this is a game I really want to play.
So last year I was at E3 as one of the crew members for New Game Plus, and I had a great time. My highlight was...
I'm gonna go even as far as to say that it even eclipsed the 2013 new generation console releases.
Well, it is a photo that I have, it was just me falling asleep in the Sony presentation, and it's a great photo that I think sums up the trip.
I've got to say, Square Enix was probably the conference that brought the most amount of surprises and announcements.
I liked E3 a lot, but that press conference was really boring.
But there were individual games that also tickled my fancy. There's Recall from the studio that was previously responsible for Metroid Prime. Just the idea of that looks really interesting.
I got really excited about Star Wars Knights of the Fallen Empires.
On top of that, you have Horizon Zero Dawn. Just the idea of robot dinosaurs has me in from day one.
That was followed by a crushing blow to realize that was not KOTOR 3, and in fact, an Old Republic expansion. Boring.
It's such a good time as a retro gamer to get excited about new additions to each franchise.
The new Hitman looks absolutely bonkers. The new Tomb Raider looks just as good as it did when it was announced last year. The Rise of Tomb Raider.
Such a resurrection from 10 years ago. There's the new Shenmue coming.
Shenmue 3 is coming.
There's Last Guardian finally after 10 years since Shadow of the Colossus.
As well as The Last Guardian and Final Fantasy VII's Remake, one of gaming's worst kept secrets.
Doom. We haven't seen Doom title in about 10 years as well.
So my highlight is pretty low-key compared to some of the others, and that's actually Star Ocean 5.
Let's also not forget that the Kinect wasn't even mentioned during the Microsoft presser.
Now, considering we expected to never see the game again after Tri-Ace became a mobile company, and we were only given the actual details of it existing about 2 months ago, the fact that we got a fully functional gameplay demo and it gave us a lot of interesting details about the game is really promising. And in the actual realm of JRPGs, for us to get any information at all so early is great. So looking forward to it and very hopeful.
Not to mention this Unravel from EA looks really sweet. It could end up being a little too precious for its own good, but for the moment, I want to believe.
E3 2015 brought me with such joy and such anticipation that the next few years in gaming are going to be some of the best yet.
So yeah, 2016, bring it on. I can't wait to check it out.
So I'm going to call it, Tim. I reckon that Fallout 4 was
Yes.
one of your highlights.
Yes, it certainly was.
Yeah, it looks really cool. The one thing that like they've always had with the Fallout series and even Elder Scrolls and stuff is like real flexibility in how you play it. So you've got like you can defend your own little settlements and all these different kind of cool things. Like I was literally, it finished here at 11 in the morning and I was at EB in my local by about 11:15, pre-ordering already. So.
Yeah, and when you watch it, Todd Howard is really passionate about what he does there. And it seems like they've added a lot of, I don't know, not necessarily stuff that's crucial to the story.
No.
They've added little add-ons.
They've added flavour,
yeah.
And that was the thing, like, with the settlements, my hope is that you don't really have to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't be forced to play the way they want me to do it. Like, that was what kind of ruined some of the Assassin's Creed games. And that's a longer story than we've got time for. The other one for me was probably Xbox 360 backwards compatibility. Now they're not cannibalising their own sales, it makes perfect sense to do it. So...
Yeah,
what
and
about you?
having the back catalogue of the 360 as well, thousands of games, may as well.
Yeah, exactly it. So, was there any other highlights from you, Tim, or...?
Just Cause 3 is looking great, but probably a low light. Rare. Why aren't they making a game? You've got Ukulele happening, and that looks great. Why isn't Rare doing something that's not re-releasing older games?
That's just kind of the elephant in the room. Hey, yeah. So E3 2015 has come and gone. There was lots of hype surrounding that.
Yes.
What do we reckon? E3 2016, Tim. We thought we'd get everyone together again to see what their predictions would be for that.
Yep, and there's certainly some interesting predictions, so let's go straight into it.
I am recording this in June 2015, so you know, it's the perfect time to predict what's going to happen in E3 2016.
With E3 being one of the biggest and greatest video game shows and conferences in the world, it's a bit of a huge influx of information to take in 3-4 days worth of conferences.
We came from an E3 where we had The Last Guardian, where we had Final Fantasy VII, we had Shenmue, well, actually all the fanboys have been predicting that, hoping, whatever.
The thing I most want to see out of it, well, aside from Half-Life 3, which we all know is going to be dead anyway.
My prediction for E3 2016 is Half-Life 3 will not be announced.
It would have to be the NX. I mean, this mysterious new system that no one really knows that much about.
Suda51, he's been very quiet with a lot of things, especially with Let It Die. I want to see if he's got any collaborations or anything in the works.
I just want to see what it is. Like, what is the future of Nintendo's hardware? Is it this weird mobile device that also plugs into a home console? Is it a smartphone platform? Is it, I don't know, a thing that does backflips every so often when you do something cool?
Same deal with Swery65, being the hive mind behind D4 and Deadly Premonition. I want to see if he's got any content lined up. Maybe something D4 related.
Is it just a great way to sell Amiibo? Who knows? Who knows? But I want to see it.
So let me try and throw my sort of predictions into the air.
Platinum Games, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of projects they have coming up, because I know they have their fingers in a lot of pies, they have a lot of projects, and like give them any franchise or any IP or any premise, and they'll just they'll just come out of the stables running.
VR is going to be a big thing in 2016 with the release of the Oculus, the Vive, and the Morpheus potentially. However, I don't actually think we'll see that much of that on the E3 stage, because for one, it's really hard to demo those, and besides, EA and Ubisoft haven't exactly indicated any interest in that territory yet. So I think that will be stuck to the fringes of the E3 show floor and maybe more direct videos.
So with so many Japanese developers using Kickstarter to start up new or old projects, as it were, and with Square on point with some of its older franchises as well, I'm really hoping that we see a revival of one of the older series, maybe Suikoden or something like that.
We might also, maybe this is just a personal indicator, but I also want to see a racing game from Criterion. They announced that they were working on a small thing during E3 2014, so I want to see if they want to follow through on that.
For E3 2016, I am hoping for Phantom Dust. It was announced last year with a trailer.
Phantom Dust as well. Microsoft have been very quiet within the development.
The company that was making it got shut down earlier this year, 2015, and nothing was mentioned of it this E3.
Hopefully there's some more news. Oz and I might start a petition.
I'm really hoping one of my favourite games gets remade into a sequel.
Let's see what happens.
It's hard to tell, but we did get Star Ocean and Nier this year, so yeah, time will tell.
Another one I'm hoping for is Beyond Good and Evil 2, which everyone in the world is hoping for.
And of course, we'll never see Beyond Good and Evil 2. I'm just going to say that enough times until it comes true. It worked for Shenmue after all.
All right, Tim. So, what do you want to see out of E3 2016 that you didn't see in E3 2015?
Well, 2015 was the first year of the PC gaming press conference, and it was terrible.
Was that a press conference? Was it?
Yeah, apparently. So hopefully next year they actually have a bit more of a concise event, because having some lackluster announcements and showings and hosts, it wasn't good. And like Blizzard and Valve
are never going to show up. Well, Blizz literally has a convention for its own stuff, and the faithful will turn up to. Like, I mean, what they need to do is follow less of Nintendo's example for Treehouse and follow more of Nintendo's example for Awkward Sexual Muppets. Like, I think that's a
work.
Absolutely, it would work. Considering all the waifu games on Steam, I think absolutely that would work.
But what about you?
Now, for me, this is a strange one, but bear with me. Rockstar do not attend E3 as a general rule. They just, I don't know whether they're trying to be too hipster and too cool for them or whatever, but they just don't. However, the big thing I want to see by next year, by E3, or I'm going to get angry, is the new Bully game that I've feel in my bones that they're working on, because to me Bully is Rockstar's best franchise. Send your emails.
But what about the agent they announced at the Sony press conference?
Mate, let's look. I'll tell you what. Sometimes you've just got to give up on vaporware or release it. Duke Nukem Forever says hello, or Last Guardian in this case.
Yes.
But look, like the great thing with it is, it was such a good year in 2015. I'm really struggling to think of what 2016 could bring me that I really want.
New Nintendo console.
True.
Long ago, we looked upon a foreboding sky. The memory of the star that threatened all burns eternal in our hearts. In its wake came an age of silence. Yet with each fond remembrance, we knew those encountered were not forgotten. That someday we would see them again. Perhaps it was no more than wishful thinking. But after the long calm, there are now the beginnings of a stir. The reunion at hand may bring joy, it may bring fear, but let us embrace whatever it brings. For they are coming back. At last, the promise has been made.
I believe the appropriate GIF here is "it's happening."
Yes, it certainly is.
Yes. As after all these years of people clamoring for this game, screaming for the rooftops, of wanting their precious Final Fantasy VII remade in all modern HD glory, it is finally here.
Yes, and it certainly appeals to those people who already own the game 30 different times on all the different platforms it's been released on. So when this was announced, I was like, so you're buying Final Fantasy VII again? It's like,
in 3 years now, from now, when the game will actually have been developed, because they are doing a lot of work, it seems, to essentially bring the game's blocky graphics kicking and screaming towards today's modern HD splendor.
I don't know, I think they have to do, at least add a lot more to the content there, because people have played this game so many times.
Yeah.
It's like, add some more content to it, put something interesting in there. If they just flat out remake it, I mean, sure, pretty graphics is good.
Yeah.
But
then do you risk just annoying the people who just want the hard copy paste, right down to the very rough localization issues that took place originally? As in, there are a lot of like typos, mistranslations, and just things that wouldn't fly in today's culture.
Someone would get very angry.
Yeah, so whether they go sort of modernize the game to that extent, or whether they just deliver a faithful HD remix of this game, well, time will only tell, won't it? We've already had plenty of time, that's for sure.
Now, Jackbox Party Pack, to be specific, is the game that we're looking at today, Donald. And you don't know, Jack has a long and storied history of being a somewhat oddball quiz game. I remember playing it, I want to say 15 years ago, and I reckon it would have been 15 years ago.
It has been kicking around forever, and it has been delighting sort of small circles and parties for ever so long. And indeed, recent You Don't Know Jack games have been released exclusively in America for the delight of their company, but not necessarily for Australia.
Because
until now.
Yeah, well, a lot of the cultural references are American.
Oh, totally.
Especially when we're talking about You Don't Know Jack specifically. However, being the party pack, it's not just limited to You Don't Know Jack. There's also Fibbage, which is the game you see behind us now, which is basically telling lies that are believable enough for the questions asked that your friends believe them and give you points. Sounds complex, but it's really not.
It's essentially a psychopath's dream.
Yes, correct. You've got Drawful, which is basically Pictionary with more risque material.
Yep.
You've got Word Spud, which is basically try and add a word onto the end of the word that you're saying so that the next person gets. It's like hot potato with words.
And then there's also Lie Swatter, which is the game throws various statements at you. You have to figure out whether it's telling a truth or telling a lie.
Yes, so there's lots in it, and for the money that you pay, it's fantastic value. Like, it is party game, it's like extraordinaire.
Even if you ignore the clearly inferior games, of course, we're talking about Word Spud and Lie Swatter, even if you just rely on You Don't Know Jack, Drawful, and
Fibbage.
Yes, you still are getting a lot of party value out of those games.
Yeah, and I think the best thing about it is it takes a lot of the fun of things like Cards Against Humanity has become so huge and mainstream now. But everybody knows what the cards are, so at least in this you kind of make your own. You know what I mean? So it's still about playing your audience. All of these games are about playing your audience in the sense that you want to know what they're going to guess, you want to know how to elicit that kind of response. But it just remains to be seen whether it still remains fun. And I think in this situation, it absolutely does.
And just even more importantly for a party game, it's accessible.
Yes.
Because I've taken this to all sorts of circles, whether it be the New Game Plus crew who are literally playing behind camera right now, as well as co-workers, family, friends. They all simply leap into the game
with varying
vigor,
levels of depravity in their answers. But the great thing with it is you don't actually need anything beyond either the computer or the console you're running it on, because it's all done through smartphone. So you log onto the site, pick your particular code for the game, like the unique code for the one you're playing, and then you're all playing together. So you can just use it on your phone, your tablet, a web browser. Like, people don't even have to be in the same room as you. Yeah, it's not as fun, but you can have people at home playing because they're still going to get the prompts at the right time.
It removes that problem of having the X amount of controllers for a party game,
So I guess the big question is, it's been out for a while in America. It's come out here. Is it still worth a look? Absolutely. I think there are some great party games that never die. Joust, this, maybe something like Smash. But I think that if you have a lot of time with friends, like lots of get-togethers and stuff, Jackbox Party Pack is great fun.
And you're not telling a lie there, are you, Jason? Oh.
Now, I've never played much of Jackbox, and I played some of Fibbage while we were all at the studio.
Yes, literally as we were filming that review, you were having your first taste of Drawful, one of the games, as part of the Jackbox Party Pack.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like, when you get a lot of people around, everyone's on their phones, and you hook up to jackbox.tv, and it's a lot of fun. It's surprising. Like, it's a really good party game for people who probably put away their Rock Band instruments.
We'll get them back out sooner or later. But yes, Jackbox is it's just good. Like, it's accessible on that surface level, and yet it's got so much potential because it is up to your sorted imagination, Tim.
Yes.
As to whether the game is good or not.
Yes, it's got that sort of Cards Against Humanity feel, but seeing as it's your own input, you can play up quite a bit of it.
You can either just go the obvious, what's called poo and fart jokes, or you go a little bit darker if you really want.
Yeah.
we welcome all crowds here at New Game Plus.
Yes, we do. But speaking of crowds, there's going to be quite a few of them at Oz Comic Con coming up.
I think let's just admire that segue for a second, shall we? It's beautiful. But yes, on the 27th and 28th of June, Melbourne Oz Comic Con will be taking place. We will be rocking the show floor. We will have a trivia panel on the Sunday afternoon at 4:30. So come along, form a team, and participate and prove your pop culture and geek trivia worth.
Yes, and on the 4th of July, if you are up in Mackay or anywhere near Mackay, you should come down to the Haven Expo and check us out there. We'll have a booth.
Yeah, we'll be streaming as well. So if worse comes to worse, you can just watch us on our Twitch page and catch all the Mackay action from there.
Yep, but that's it for this week. With all the E3 that's been happening, we finally get to rest,
at last,
play some games, and catch up on some games. What is this? But you guys should visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook at New Game Plus.
Follow Twitter and Instagram at New Game Plus TV.
And follow us on Twitch and YouTube at New Game Plus TV.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Tim.
We'll see you guys next week.